Hi there. Skip Bayless here from the Bayless Bungalow, Los Angeles, California, looking at another beautiful sunset, just another day in paradise. Facebook Live, how are you tonight? You catch me every morning on Undisputed. That's 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. I'm going to be with you here for the next few minutes ahead of the Giants at Eagles game. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to the newest member of the Bayless clan. Her name is Hazel, and she just joined us this afternoon at 11 weeks old. She's not too happy right now. Hi, Hazel. Say hi to Facebook Live. This is Ernestine, my wife's dog. I don't claim it yet. I never wanted a small dog. I want a big dog, but Ernestine wanted a small dog. And I must admit, I'm starting to come around to Hazel already. We roughhoused this afternoon. She stood her ground with me. She actually tore me up. She tore my sweater that I had on. I was impressed. She's got guts. And now look at this. She wants to be a TV star. 11 weeks old is Hazel. Don't ask me why she's Hazel. Ernestine loves a 60s sitcom. You probably don't know it, called Hazel. Maybe you do know it. Hazel seems kind of like an old lady name to me, but it fits. She's already Hazel. And she's pretty calm. She likes me.
She likes TV.
Well, way to go. I'm going to hand her back to Ernestine now. And you see I've got my hat on tonight. I don't even know what this hat is. I just reached in the closet and pulled it out. It has the star. I don't even know what the star means. I don't know. It's Christmas time. I don't know. It's the Star of Bethlehem. I don't know. I have no idea. But, maybe Hazel likes the Dallas Cowboys. She's still whining. Okay, that's enough. You can go on now. Thank you. So speaking of my Dallas Cowboys, before we get started about the Giants and the Eagles tonight, let me tell you how my Cowboy fandom first began. 1961, I was growing up in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I was in 4th grade at Mayfair Grade School, Mrs. Lowther's class. Yeah, I was kind of the teacher's pet, but I was pretty good. And I was actually a St. Louis Cardinals football and baseball fan. The Cardinals at that point, the football team in St. Louis. But there was this new upcoming team in Dallas, struggling team, basically an expansion team. And I had an uncle in Dallas by the name of Jim Bell, a high school football assistant coach. And he kept calling saying, "You've got to come down and let me take you to a Dallas Cowboy game at the Cotton Bowl." So on, I believe it was November the 5th of 1961, I finally convinced my parents to drive me down just for the weekend to Dallas, Texas. It was, at that point, there really weren't great freeways, but maybe a 4-hour drive. And we went to a game at the Cotton Bowl that featured about 20,000 folks, I think, in a 80,000 seat stadium. And I watched the Cardinals basically destroy what was soon to become my Dallas Cowboys. I forget what the score was, but it was pretty significant, sort of the 38-21 sort of score, maybe even worse than that, maybe 31-17, I forget. But I remember 2 pick sixes by the St. Louis Cardinals, and I remember loving the Cowboy uniforms, and I remember loving this. And it got my blood, and I started to follow the Dallas Cowboys, who began to rise quickly at that point. And I got hooked, and I gave up on the St. Louis Cardinals. This is way before most of your times, probably. Quarterback was Charlie Johnson. Sonny Randall was the receiver. Bobby Joe Conrad was the defensive back. But I gave up on them, and I went to Don Meredith and the Dallas Cowboys. When the game I saw, Eddie LeBaron, who's like 5'7", was the quarterback. Pretty soon, Don Meredith took over, and they took off. So that launched me into fandom. And the only time I jumped completely off the bandwagon out of complete protest was a period of about maybe 2006-ish to 2011-ish, 2010-ish maybe. It was the Terrell Owens period. I was not a T.O. fan. I covered him when I was in the Bay Area. when he was a 49er. For a while, I supported Terrell Owens publicly in print, and I had too many of his teammates pull me aside and say, hey, you're making a fool of yourself supporting a guy who is all about Terrell Owens. He subsequently, as we all know, tore apart that locker room by attacking the head coach, the quarterback, and the coordinator. And they dumped him on Philadelphia, at which he attacked the head coach and the quarterback, his soulmate, Donovan McNabb, and the coordinator, Brad Childress at the time. And then he came to my Dallas Cowboys, and I was devastated. I just couldn't believe that Jerry Jones had gone for straight box office and gone for the fool's gold that was Terrell Owens. And it drove me away. And young Romo drove me crazy. Romo was in his Jessica Simpson period. Lots of cap on backward. He's still doing that. I thought he'd sort of grown out of that and grown up and become a dad, good husband, and actually a mature adult, but whatever, it's fine with me. But in those days, remember the Cancun days when he and Jason Witten and the wife and girlfriend went to Cancun in their break, their bye week before the playoffs, and of course Eli Manning, and I just saw Eli up on my TV screen ahead of this game, went into Dallas that year and beat them, and I actually got some pleasure out of it. And you remember that was the game that Terrell Owens went in and actually cried crocodile tears about my quarterback. He's my quarterback. Don't condemn him. Actually, Terrell wanted you to condemn him. He was trying to actually subtly point the finger at Tony Romo and take the blame off himself. The greatest blame deflector and finger pointer I was ever around was Terrell Owens. I actually like him personally, but professionally he drove me nuts because he was all about Terrell Owens. So that ruined my fandom for a while, and I couldn't even claim it for a while until Romo seemed to grow up. And then through 2014, of course, he had one of the great seasons as a quarterback in Dallas Cowboy history. And we all know that he got all the way to Lambeau Field, should have won a second playoff game after they had beaten Detroit by hook or crook in the first one at Jerry World. And we all know that was a catch at Lambeau Field. And yet the uncatch undid the Cowboys and ended their season when I was convinced that they could repeat what they had done in the regular season, which is go back to Seattle and win the NFC Championship game against a Seahawks team that I thought they had the number of that year. Maybe they took them a little by surprise in the regular season, but I thought they had the firepower, certainly at running back, because they could sledgehammer away with DeMarco Murray, and with Dez as a dominating receiver against Richard Sherman. I thought they could go pull it off. But instead, the Patriots pulled it off, which made me happy because I'm a big Tom Brady fan. Not the biggest Patriots fan in general, but because he is the man of the Patriots and by far the best quarterback still playing today. I got pleasure out of that, but I still thought my Cowboys could have at least gotten there and lost to Tom Brady. That could happen this year. That was my prediction back in August. As you might know, made a commercial with Morris Chestnut. Morris was way better in that commercial than I was. He made it. He sold it. Now that I continue to see it, it looks completely real to me that he actually looks down into the movie crowd, of which I'm a member at that point, and says, Skip Bayless, the expert who picked the Dallas Cowboys. Yep, that's me. And I fire back at him while he's on screen, and of course he gets a little distracted by me. I do distract people on occasion, including Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed. And he forgets what he's doing about the bomb that they're trying to just stop from ticking, and it explodes on them, and I say horrible clock management to the guy sitting behind me. So the point is that I did go on record in that commercial as saying Cowboys, Patriots in the Super Bowl, book it. I said that the Patriots would beat the Cowboys. I'm going to stand by that because it would be an incredible achievement if my Dallas Cowboys got back to a Super Bowl. Just that. If they could just win the NFC, and I'm convinced they are going to win the NFC. Some people, including my partner Shannon Sharpe, and by the way, Shannon wanted to be with us tonight, but he lives nearby here. He said he had to stay home, and come up with ridiculous wrong predictions for tomorrow's show on Undisputed, because I have owned him this year in predictions to the point I feel sorry for my man Shannon. I love my man Shannon, and I try to help him because I've been fearful that he's going to lose his Hall of Fame credentials with his many poor predictions on Undisputed. We've bet several cases of Diet Mountain Dew on it. I don't really, it was sort of Shannon's point. I do love my dew. By the way, I got one right here, Diet Mountain Dew, the breakfast of champions, the nectar of the gods. I try not to drink too much of it because it's not just the greatest thing in the world for you, but it tastes great. That's what I love about it. If you will, it's my one vice, but it doesn't have any sugar in it. So Shannon has started betting me cases of Diet Mountain Dew, also cases of Propel, another favorite drink of mine. And he lost, I think we lost count, but then a couple of weeks ago, he actually got me twice and cut it down to a few, I don't know, I'm losing track. 2 or 3 cases he still owes me, but I think the bets are going to fly on Undisputed tomorrow between 9:30 and noon, not only on several football games, but also on the big basketball game on Christmas Day, featuring Golden State at Cleveland. And just a quick aside before I get back to the football here, would you believe that now I'm reading that Draymond Green may not be able to play on Christmas Day because he had, I think it's his first child, his girlfriend had a child, and he's a little indisposed right now, and he might miss the game. And would you believe that LeBron James is so lucky that Draymond got suspended after game 4 of the finals and couldn't play in game 5, which turned around a 3-1 finals in favor of Golden State and gave LeBron the chance to climb out of that hole. Bogut obviously was hurt, couldn't play in game 6 and 7. So now there's no Bogut and maybe no Draymond in the big Christmas Day game. So way to go, LeBron. You're blessed again. Back to the Giants. Shannon believes the Giants are by far the biggest threat right now to my Dallas Cowboys. And I continue to tell Shannon, you are wrong, and you will be proven wrong, and you're going to eat even more crow on the Giants than you've eaten along the trail as my Cowboys have risen to 12-2. Obviously, the Giants have beaten my Cowboys twice, by 1 point and by 3 points. 1 point, 3 points. And in the first game, it was Dak Prescott's first start as a rookie thrown into the fire in place of Tony Romo. And I thought Dak, I knew that Dak played well enough to win that game. But Des Bryant could not hold on to an easy touchdown pass, the back corner of the end zone. And that came actually after my man Cole Beasley, as we call him on First Take facetiously because Shannon's not a big fan. We call him Measly Beasley, but he had a touchdown pass right in his hands at the 2-yard line, did not hang on. So there's actually 8 total points that my Cowboys left on the table in the opening game because they had to go field goal in 2 early drives. And it turned out 20-19 Eli and company. And then, of course, a couple of weeks back, up at the Giants, snowed all afternoon, slush, wet ball. Neither quarterback could hang on to the football. Eli had an empty hand throw that went backwards, fumble, lost, and he had one mystery ball interception. I have no idea who he's throwing to except one of my Cowboys because he couldn't hang on to the ball, and he volunteered in his post-game session. It was as slippery a football as he ever tried to throw in a pro football game. And, of course, Dak didn't complain about it because Dak always says the right thing and complains about nothing. But Dak had one inaccurate game because he could not hold on to the football. To Eli's credit, he held on to it on one play, slant, Odell Beckham Jr., my man Barry Church, must not have gone to church on that Sunday. I don't know, but he took the worst angle possible and completely underran and undercut Odell, who slipped past and was free for a long touchdown that was basically the game. 10-7, New York Giants. I'm sorry, they're overrated. I will not be surprised if they lose this game tonight. But when I look at these numbers, I say a lot of smoke, a lot of mirrors, and only a little bit of fire. The Fire's caught on to the point that they've won 8 out of 9. I can't take that away from them. Over this stretch of 9 games, they have the #1 scoring defense in all of pro football. I give it up. That's how they are winning 8 out of 9 games. But they don't take the ball away at a high rate. They just hang in and hang on and keep you out of the end zone because their offense can't find the end zone. During this period, while the defense has held teams to 15.8 points a game, the offense has scored at the runaway clip of 20.3 points a game. Think about that, 15.8. So let's say it's basically 16 to 20. 16 allowed, 20 scored. They're barely winning game after game after game. Eli Manning, QBR, my favorite stat of the quarterbacks in the NFL, ranks 23rd. The Giants' offense ranks 24th in points scored. The Giants' offense in time of possession is the antithesis of the Dallas Cowboys. It ranks 30th in time of possession. It's awful. It keeps your defense on the field far too long. And why is that? Because Eli's offense is converting third downs only 31st best in the National Football League. That's 31st, let's say it, worst in the National Football League. Only the Rams are worse on third down conversions. That's pathetic. I don't know how they're doing it. That won't last. They have no run game. The other receivers aren't stepping up. Cruz hasn't really become Cruz again. I love Little Shepherd because I watched him. I'm a big Oklahoma fan growing up in Oklahoma City, University of Oklahoma. And he's had his moments, but it's basically Odell or bust. And as crazy as Odell drives me, I do like him personally. I've been around him. I do think he's got a good heart. I just think he's basically lost his mind occasionally when he's gotten too caught up in Big Apple madness and the New York media spotlight. And now he's becoming a caricature of himself, both in celebration and in pouting. But kid can play. And the kid is tied for third in touchdown receptions, National Football League, fourth in yards, and that's how they're winning. A couple of plays a game from Odell, and they hang in and hang on defense. And I am convinced that will not last, which brings me to my next point. I have gone back and forth this week about who should win this game. Well, if the Eagles win this game in Philly, which is highly possible, they're only a 2.5-point underdog, guess what? My Dallas Cowboys, led by a rookie quarterback drafted in the 4th round out of Mississippi State, will suddenly clinch home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. They'll get a bye week and potentially 2 home games to get to Houston in the Super Bowl. How great is that? Wow. I mean, we still have that 2 weeks to go in the regular season. Who would have thunk it that my Cowboys would suddenly, on this Thursday night, what are we up to? I'm with my guys Tyler here and Jonathan. How are you guys? Fox Sports 1. What are we to, the 22nd? So it's December 22nd. And my Cowboys would clinch? Who would have dreamed this? 12-2 and clinch while watching Thursday Night Football? Watch Eli gag on Thursday Night Football. It's got potential. But I don't want it to happen. I've thought and thought about this, and as much as I would love to get a kick out of the Eagles upsetting the Giants tonight, there are 2 reasons I do not want it to happen. Number 1, Jerry Jones, once again, 2 days ago, I think it was on Sirius Radio, right, that Jerry spoke. He once again gave strong indication he's about to get Tony Romo back in the lineup one way or the other. Jerry loves Romo. He bet Valley, what used to be Valley Ranch, on Tony Romo's contract a couple of years back. $108 million, $55 million guaranteed, and against everybody else's better judgment, Jerry said, no, I can go win a Super Bowl with Tony Romo. Now Dak has given this team that chance. He has put this team in position, and Jerry wants to get Romo back in for the ride to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So if they clinch tonight, I fear that you will see Romo at least split time the following Monday night against Detroit at Jerry World, and that will prepare him to play the whole game at Philadelphia, both these games meaningless, obviously, the equivalent of preseason games. And Romo would be ready to go with another week off to prepare for whoever comes to Jerry World for that first playoff game. I don't like that scenario. And I don't like the idea of a young, hot team in the Cowboys. I know they just lost to the Giants, but they've been on quite a roll because they lost 10-7 to the Giants. But I don't like the idea of a young, hot, flowing team based on unity, chemistry, and sort of this youthful inspiration provided by Zeke and Dak. I don't like them suddenly having to shut all that down for 3 whole weeks before they play their next meaningful football game. I don't like it. Am I looking a gift horse or a gift eagle in the mouth tonight? Yeah, I am. I'm saying I'm okay if New York goes ahead and wins this game, which would make it 9 out of 10. Wow. And force Dallas to go win on Monday night at home with some pressure mounting. That's fine with me. And even if they don't win that game, let's just do the worst case, to have to go to Philly and win one more game to clinch home field, I'm fine with that. Keep the pressure on, keep the momentum rolling, even though they would have lost a couple games here. I'm better with that than the rust that would develop and the angst that would develop over a 3-week period, plus Romo having a chance to get ready to be reinstalled for the first playoff game. So both those things combined tell me that I'm out. I'm good if the Giants win. So the point is, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Giants tonight. I'm going to pick the Giants to win a low-scoring game. I'm watching the shot of the stadium right now. I'm watching Heather Cox. Who is that? I don't even know who they're talking to right now. I don't even care. These guys, what a bunch of no-name Giants. The point is, I'm going to go 17-10 Giants. I will still root for the Eagles just because I would get a kick out of it. But in the end, Cowboys are going to be okay, even if the Giants win. And final point, I want the Giants again. I want them at Jerry World in that first playoff game. It is very hard for a team to beat another team, especially a division rival, a third time in 1 year. I don't buy the Giants. I don't buy what they did in the opener. I don't really buy what they did in the wet ball game at the Giants here last couple of weeks ago. So I want it on a dry field with a dry football. My Cowboys, you can book it. They would beat the Giants in a playoff game. So go ahead and win your way home. I want to see you again, Giants, coming up in the first playoff game. So please follow us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1. You can follow us on Twitter at Undisputed. Tune in to Undisputed, of course, tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern. We'll be on till noon. We got lots of hot stuff, all these predictions I just talked about. And we might even have a very special guest to comment on the George Karl controversy. So from the Bayless bungalow here in Los Angeles, California, I'm going to sign off and tell you that Hazel loves you all tonight. Good night, Facebook.